Hey, what's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there discuss comics that have been adapted into movies and TV shows. We are almost at the end of The Last of Us Season 2. We just watched episode 6, and so now Brian and I are going to discuss that episode. Brian, do you think that episode 6 was the best episode of the season?
Possibly.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah. I just wanted to briefly touch upon that it's episode. This is the second to last episode,
right?
And there's only 7 episodes. I was kind of like wondering how much they were going to cram in, sort of. As I've mentioned, in the video game, you play half the game as Ellie and like half the game as Abby, and we have not seen Abby since the second episode.
No.
So when I saw that this was the second to last episode earlier this week, I was like, oh, I guess this is going to be a second season that's just going to be Abby.
Oh, you think they're really going to do it like that? Like focus on her a lot?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. What's interesting about this episode is that it's a hard shift back to sort of the old status where it's Joel and Ellie. And I feel like this episode's very similar to the episode with, I always forget the two men, where it's just them.
It's Bill and the other guy.
Bill and Bill's man. But it felt like that episode for this season. And all I see online, which I just basically just go on Instagram, and the only Last of Us posts I see are these malicious posts where they show Bella Ramsey and there's some kind of thing about how like she's ugly or whatever. And, it's probably these like guys that are our age making these memes about girls that are, like she's like, I don't know, 18 or something like that, or 19. But I feel like people would look at this episode and be like, yeah, this is the way it should be. It should be like this. This is good. How do you feel about it?
Well, honestly, I felt it was a return to form. I actually really appreciated Bella Ramsey in this episode.
Right.
I think she does a much better job as the younger Ellie.
Right.
Than the older Ellie. I don't want to say it's a return to form, but it felt like it did more like it did last season. Probably because it's building upon that relationship between Joel and Ellie, which was just a fantastic aspect of both the game and the first season.
Yeah. And, I watched the after the credits scene or little documentary thing where they talk about the making of the episode. And Craig Mazin, I believe, he was talking about how it's the other guy, the guy that made the game. They suggested that they put this flashback to Joel's past in the beginning of the episode. And he was like, that's a great idea. And boy, did they make that go full circle. And it just was kind of like the theme or the idea of this episode. And I think like as a father, just like me, or, you're a father is what I'm saying. That was just like this whole episode was being a dad, trying to be a good dad. And what happens when the world makes you have to do certain things and you're trying to protect your loved ones, and then it causes these rifts with the loved ones.
Yeah. It was a really well put together arc here. It does essentially follow the game fairly closely, with the exception of the added content with Eugene. That was altered, really. And what they did here was they kind of crammed together. There are these 3 fairly close together flashbacks. They kind of cram those together. One of them is the first one is Ellie's birthday, and they go to the museum and the spaceship thing, and the other is her first patrol, and then the other is the initial. Well, actually, this is a little bit different because in the game, Ellie actually goes back to Salt Lake City, where the incident happened with the Fireflies, and that's how they kind of related the Eugene scene. That's where she kind of figures out that Joel was lying, essentially. So it didn't happen the same way as it does in the show.
So you say they go back to Salt Lake City. Do they go back on like some kind of mission, or it goes back like a flashback to when they're there?
It's a flashback from the present day, but they go back there some point after Ellie goes back there on her own.
Okay.
At some point after they made it to Jackson Hole, and she goes through the hospital. She finds like recordings and notes and whatever, because that's what video games do. And,
Right.
and then Joel's there at the end. They kind of sort of have that conversation about it, and then he doesn't tell the truth again, and then it springs up later on. Or does maybe she does find out then? No, I think she does find out then. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. And I mean, here's the thing. This was such a well-made episode. It like the structure of it was like kind of perfect for telling this story. And it was very similar to that story with Bill and his lover, where it kind of just breaks down their relationship over the course of years, and you see the progression over years. And it's been 5 years since the first season. And with that being said, like there's these like amazing moments, and I know that they're in the game because they talk about like the scene with the dinosaur statue and the scene where they're in the kind of the museum, the space museum, and the shuttle or the landing craft that's in there, and then that's like in the game. To me, it's kind of amazing that a video game has that, because I mean, like this is like deep, like great storytelling.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's like the way it's structured, it's leading to this negative place, and it makes you feel a certain way emotionally, but yet they're able to kind of put these hopeful beats in there too to kind of misdirect you. And the ending is really fantastic. I mean, I almost cried at the ending. It was so good.
Yeah. Believe it or not, that is actually the last scene of the game.
The last scene of the game is Joel talking to Ellie on the porch?
Yes, that is the very last thing that you see in the game.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you enjoyed that scene, I honestly recommend watching a playthrough of that part. It's a lot more fleshed out. They definitely cut it pretty short, but there's more to it, and you really get that feeling of like Joel's trying to be a really good dad, and there is that sense of hope, like you said, and it's just giving you that sense of hope before you know it's going to break eventually. There's one little minor detail that I wish they would have put in. It's like a stupid visual gag, but Ellie has like a Dr. Grant hat sort of thing, and she's putting on dinosaurs' heads. I really wish they would have did that just at least once.
Okay, like a little Jurassic Park reference?
Yeah. No, not really. But it's just like it's like a hat like that, and she keeps putting on dinosaurs, making dumb jokes. And I really wish they would have did that once.
Okay. It's so sweet and cute. I have to admit that like you're saying to me that Ellie in the game is sort of like more gruff and more kind of like badass. Like with Bella Ramsey, there are times where her, like when she curses or like she says something kind of like, oh, well, I can't believe she just said that. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm like, it feels like trying too hard. And maybe it's just the way that she looks. I'm assuming that Ellie in the game, it doesn't give you that kind of cringy feeling.
No, Ellie is a lot drier, I think.
Yeah.
And as after the incident with what happened with Joel,
The Fireflies.
Yeah.
Oh
so
no, his killing. Yeah.
Killing. Yeah. So
yeah.
She's much more determined. There isn't that like show Ellie is still, it goes from like kind of playful and even almost naive to like wild fucking beast. And it's a lot more the range is not as drastic there. Like Ellie feels like more of an adult in the game, even though she is only still like 19 or 20, just like Bella Ramsey is. But she's just, I guess, more like just weary of the world, you know? So she just sounds like tired in a way, you know?
Yeah.
I appreciated just the way she performed it and just dealing with the world as it is. And you believe that she lived in it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think that like the way that Bella Ramsey portrays it is, it works for this particular episode because you need a lot of like innocence and you need sort of this sense of wonder for these particular flashbacks. I really love that they show us Joel and Tommy in the beginning of the episode, and they show their dad. Their dad is a cop in Austin, Texas.
Swordsman.
Swordsman, and I love that actor. He was this villain on Better Call Saul, which is a spinoff of Breaking Bad. And his name was Lalo, and he was like incredible on that show. He was like one of the best villains I ever saw. Just so to see him, we kind of have this wealth of I don't know if at this point we call them Hispanic or Latinx actors, and I think they're all from different countries. But we have Diego Luna in Andor, which we're going to talk about later. We have Pedro Pascal, and then of course I'm forgetting the name of this actor that plays Joel's dad, but just seeing him made me so happy. And his like line delivery, his facial expressions, just really perfect. And it all kind of plays into this idea of that as generations go on, we try to make progress as humans. We try to be better than our parents. So Joel tries to be better than his dad when he's with Ellie. And Jesus Christ, some of those moments, especially in the museum, you're like, it's like, it's not even heartbreaking. It's like, I can't even explain it. It's like this weird kind of goosebumps, happy feeling, excited feeling, sadness, love. You just feel all of this in that one scene.
Yeah. It's really a great scene because, it seems like going to a museum is something we would take for granted, essentially, but
right.
Somebody that has not ever seen anything like that, really. So it kind of adds to that sense of wonder and joy that they got out of going to it. But to go back to that doing a little better, just the full circle line of that from the intro to the outro was just perfect. Especially Pedro's delivery of that at the very end.
Oh,
perfect.
Fuck, man. Yeah, so good. Pedro Pascal, the common meme right now is like, he's like Thanos and he's got all the franchises as the Infinity Gems, right? He's in everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's like a plague or something. He's like Galactus. He like consumes all these franchises. But he is like, there's a reason why. I mean, besides him being handsome and charismatic, he is a very good actor. Yeah. And Jesus Christ, I think that like Joel being sad and like not being able to emote, but just sort of being frozen when people talk to him and just like the tear going down his cheek. It's so effective.
Yeah.
They
really nailed that last scene on the porch there. But my only real caveat there is that like that was literally the last thing you see in the game, that flashback. Wow. So I'm a little annoyed at the sequencing of it, I guess, but it really, like, there's no doubt in my mind that season 3 is just going to be Abby's side of the story, and I'm guessing that the actual ending might even be a season 4.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, it's weird that it's 7 episodes, because usually with these shows, it's always even numbers. It's like 6, 8, or 10. So for it to be 7, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it does. It feels really weird. 7's an odd number. Like 6 is fairly common, but and the first one was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
So it feels very short. Like I feel like 7 is not a good number for a season. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it's not even. It feels like it has to be an even number. I know there are shows that have 9 episode seasons too.
But 9 doesn't feel bad. Like 7 feels bad.
I understand. Yeah. Well, I mean, because it's weird when you see like the coming attractions for the next episode. They're like 1 episode left. You're like, what the fuck? Like, isn't this episode 6? So let's talk about how well this story is made. See, here's the thing. This is why the show is really good, and it's one of my favorite things to talk to you about, is because the combination of the acting, the cinematography, and then also the story structure, the way things happen. Because the dialogue isn't always necessarily profound. It's not stupid dialogue. And with a show like this, in this kind of context, they make a point to make characters not say that much. You don't have like this sort of like rambling kind of quippy character that says a lot. Especially when Joel's involved, right? Yeah. So, I mean, let's just talk about how great this is set up and how well it's structured, right? So we have this flashback with Joel and Tommy and then their father. We established that, like, the father was abusive. The grandfather was even more abusive to the father. And then Joel wants to not be like them. Then we cut to they're in Jackson Hole. We see Seth once again, and it's kind of this positive interaction because they're trading something, and you see Joel kind of as like a positive figure in Jackson Hole. He gets a cake for Ellie's birthday, and it's a great framing sequence to have every flashback be one of Ellie's birthdays. And then there's just this great fucking sequence where he's like repairing a guitar for her, you know?
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to point out that song that I guess they played last week. Well, the Pearl Jam song. I didn't realize that was a Pearl Jam song.
Yeah. It's funny, like Aha, Take on Me. It's very overplayed in movies and stuff. They like, especially if it's like something set in the 80s, they're like, oh, Aha, let's put Take on Me on there. But when Bella Ramsey played it, it worked on the show. It was beautiful the way she sang it. I had no fucking idea that was Pearl Jam. I mean, it sounded like Johnny Cash or something when Pedro
I thought it was the
sang
original.
Right, that too. Right. But beautiful fucking song.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up too. But that sequence is great. Then the sequence when they go to the museum is just this sweet, amazing thing. Like, I'd almost like to just show that to someone that has no interest in the show or, doesn't care, and just be like, hey, just watch this scene. And I think someone could just appreciate it for what it is. I love the fact that, like, because he gives her a tape at one point, and you think, okay, it's going to be some kind of song. Maybe it'll be like David Bowie or something like, Ground Control to Major Tom. And then it's just like a recording of a rocket ship launch. Yeah. Love that.
It was a really nice touch. I really love the effect they do too with the light moving past, like almost like he is taking off. They were very well done. I think in the behind the scenes they said that it was like a difficult shot to pull off with that. There was people like outside, like cycling around, trying to show the light and dark there.
Yeah. And I have to apologize, Brian, because I keep basically just telling you what I think and not like giving you something to work with, like a question. I'm just like, hey, this is really, and then you just kind of sit there and you're like, yeah, I agree. Like what,
I
what,
agree.
Like, yes. What am I supposed to Okay. So all right. Let's do this then. I'm gonna tee you up with this one. So, Eugene, you're saying to me that that's not in the game at all. No. Catherine O'Hara is not in the game at all, right?
No. Eugene is in the game, mentioned in story beats only. Like he's mentioned in the past tense. He did not die from being shot or infection. He died of like a heart attack or old age, some natural cause. Basically, he died of. But he was like he did like make all that pot farm and all that stuff. And that's how you know about Eugene. So that is very different here. And I sort of do like the setup they have with this here is the whole scene is in service of getting Ellie to realize when Joel is lying. Because there's a look on his face when he says, I'm trust me or whatever.
He says, I promise.
I promise. Yeah. And then Ellie kind of realizes after he broke that promise, is like, oh, that was the same look I got after when we first got to Jacksonville after Salt Lake. And right. I really like to call out too that they did say he promises, but when she calls him out in front of Gail, she says you swore, because he did swear initially. So she's actually calling him out right there, which I really appreciated and did not notice at first.
Right. They do talk about that in the behind the scenes look, where it's like he says, I swore when they were in Utah or Salt Lake City. But let me ask you this, though, because that whole sequence isn't in the game. Were you initially annoyed when, like, Joel says to Catherine O'Hara, he's like, this is how he died. He was thinking about you. He killed himself. And then Ellie's like, he's lying. This is how it happened. Did that annoy you?
Did it annoy me that Joel lied about it?
No. Did it annoy you that, like, Catherine O'Hara's having this moment where she's thinking about her husband in an ideal way, like the best way that he could have died from the situation? It's done. I think she hugs Joel, and then yes. Ellie's like, he's lying. Did that annoy you that Ellie said that?
I do think it was a selfish move there, because she made it about her
Right.
because she did the swore thing. Like that was her being mad at Joel and wanting and it ends up hurting Gail instead, really. Joel was trying to kind of do the nice thing here, I guess, and let her down comfortably, as gently as possible. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was annoyed, but I would definitely call it a selfish move to call it out there.
Excellent. Yeah, that's an excellent way of putting that. Joe Pantoliano from The Matrix and Bound, and I think he's in the Bad Boys movies. Great fucking actor. Yeah. He's in Sopranos. Yeah, he's like their chief for Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. But I just love him as an actor. I think like Cypher is such an interesting, great part of The Matrix. And so he's just, when he shows up in this scene, I'm like, oh, it's Joe Pantoliano. This is going to be a great scene. The way they handle, oh my God. There's this great point. There's an interesting thing because even though the show is a post-apocalyptic dystopian kind of future, there's still stuff that is sort of just universal and not applicable to like a specific place or type of person. It's just the idea of, you're going to die. How do you feel? He's explaining it, and he explains how he needs to see his wife before he dies versus he needs to tell her how he feels. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that sequence with him and Joel alone like that.
Yeah, that was a fantastic explanation. I would not have thought of that, but It was a really great way of summing up the need to do that, and making it a different kind of take. And really, if I had to throw one complaint here, is that when in the first episode where they throw that line out to you about you killed my husband, I was really expecting another like full episode explanation, like the Bill episode. I thought they were going to really expand on it. But Joe Pantoliano is maybe in the show for like 7-8 minutes.
I don't even think that.
Yeah, even so. I was a little let down. That scene and explanation was great. The idea of his realization when he sees the lake is like, oh shit, I know what's going on here.
Right.
That was fantastic, and he did a really great job. But I really was expecting him to blow this up into like almost a full episode.
Right. I actually could see that too, where it's the whole episode is this incident, right?
Could have got let me ask you. We would have that even number.
Exactly. What the hell are they doing, man? But I was going to ask you this though: do you feel like how Joel handled that situation and what he chose to do? Do you have a problem with that? Like, do you think that that's wrong, or would you have done things the way he did it?
I would not want to take a chance. I completely understand the character's plight. But I wouldn't want to take the chance. I don't really know how far away they were. I mean, even if you tie him up, like whose horse is he riding? Is he riding behind Ellie? I guess.
Right.
But still, I do in this instance think that was the smarter choice to make.
Yeah. So, I mean, I completely agree. I think I actually would have done the same thing as Joel. And even when he talked to his wife after, I probably would have said something like that too, just to make her feel better about the situation. What I was going to ask you is this: like, you keep talking about how the third season is going to be the other part of the game. Then how do you feel like this is going to end with this last episode that's coming up?
I mean, I pretty much know what they're going to do. I don't know if you want me to tell you, but okay. So
no, don't spoil. That's actually kind of a stupid question on my part. Like, I guess you know what's going to happen, basically. That you feel like a good stopping point.
There's a very clear stopping point here. That what they're going to do, and there's at that stopping point is then when you start playing as Abby, and then you get into her backstory more. So remember how in the first episode they gave you like the whole explanation of what she was doing and why? They gave you way too much in that beginning spot there, and this is where you start to learn
Oh,
I mean, you do learn that they were with the Fireflies when they killed Joel, but you don't really learn about that was her father and all that until her flashback sequences start, which is after the stopping point that we're going to hit next episode.
okay. So it'll be kind of like a natural thing as far as like adapting it from the game. It'll make sense. Okay.
I feel that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, we could have like kind of talked more in depth about each scene because really, really excellent like filmmaking on every aspect of making a story that they nailed it for this episode. But I really need to talk about the ending of Andor with you. So I think we need to go cut over that. Let's go. But what I was gonna say though is that like Brian and I we're kind of considering what are we gonna cover because a few of our shows, including The Last of Us, are going to end soon. So like, what are we gonna cover? And so if you guys have any suggestions, we basically have. I mean, Andor's over. This is about to end, and then there's like a little gulf between Ironheart and now. So if you guys have any recommendations, let us know. Brian had a really great recommendation. He said covering classic Superman movies and the original Fantastic Four movies in anticipation of what's coming this summer. But you guys can let us know. Did you have anything else you wanted to say, Brian, about this episode?
No, but I'd be very excited to rewatch at least the first Superman before Superman comes out. So
yeah. I think I covered the first Superman with Mike Bongiorno on his channel, Pop Culture Man Children. I think I covered it like, I don't know, maybe even a year ago at this point, but I would gladly watch it again because that's great.
Yeah.
But if you guys, and I just talked over Brian, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I was just agreeing with you. I was just saying yes.
That's what you're here for, man. I'm like Conan and you're Andy. Yes. There you go. All right, nice. All right, well, no. But so we had our fun, and we kind of talked about the sad thing. But we love you guys. Thank you for subscribing, and we will catch you cats next week for the finale. Bye.